Good day, guys, and Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2024, and we're doing something a little bit different than I normally do today. We're doing some maintenance on the wife's Kia Rondo. This is a Canadian-only car. I think it's actually available in other parts of the world. It's the Carnival, the Kia Carnival, but basically it uses the Hyundai and Kia MU designation engine. It's a 2.7-liter 60-degree V6, 60-degree like my other projects, my 3.4 and 3.1 that I work on. Other than that, that's probably kind of where the comparison ends. It's an all aluminum block, aluminum heads, dual overhead cam. Doing a couple things right now. I want to do spark plugs is what I'm going to rework on here first. It needs an oil change as well. I'm not going to show you that, but it also needs a new timing belt because I don't know when the timing belt was done on this one. The timing belt looks okay. Doesn't look old, but the former owner bought it from his elderly neighbors and couldn't tell me when the timing belt was done. So for safety, we're going to make sure we get that done sooner than later because later is too late. Okay, if we're doing spark plugs, we're going to take out these individual coil packs here and the front bank. That's nice and easy. We are going to take a vacuum to clean out all those maple leaves or maple keys and everything because, you know, Canada, maple trees, get it. And but the back ones are the problem. So this lovely long runner intake manifold here, which has got the variable intake. It's got two different, that's what these pieces over here are for. That goes right over top of where those coils are. Those coils are back there. I don't even think you can even see them from this angle. And we got to get this thing out of the way so we can get to those bank of spark plugs. From what I read online, this is about a 2-hour job. I've not done this job on this engine before. This is the same engine they use in a bunch of the Kia, like Optimas, Hyundai Santa Fe, I think Hyundai Tucson of certain areas. It's the newer version of the Hyundai Delta engine. So this process is basically going to be the same. I will try to list all the tools needed as I figured out because I've not done this job before. I know it's going to be a lot of 10 mil and 12 mil bolts that Hyundais and Kias like to use. We're going to have to take off our air intake here. We have to take off some of these hoses and whatnot. This is the harness that goes to your fuel injectors up here. I don't want to take that off if I don't have to. I'm just going to unbolt it from these points here to try to get it pull it out of the way a little bit. I'm not going to, I will show you how to do the front bank. Because I'm also want to do the timing belt, I'm probably going to do all the spark plugs, take all of them out first so I can crank the engine over to find top dead center easier. If it's like the old other 60-degree engines I work on, cylinder number 1 is going to be in the back over there. So I'm going to have to double check that, make sure that is correct, but I'm pretty sure it's the same firing order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like all the other 60-degree V6s. First thing I'm going to start with is getting the vacuum and sucking out all this debris in here. All right, we've got all the maple keys and all the dirt kind of sucked out of there and inside this other intake manifold that was all full of there. First thing I was going to mention though is you got to take off a bunch of stuff. But the first thing you got to take off is a stupid cover that they put right in this area here. I don't know why engine manufacturers are determined to put covers on things. If you guys know anybody or if you are a guy that works at a automotive manufacturer, if you want to save a buck, stop putting the stupid covers on the engines. If you can't make an engine that looks good enough that you can't put a cover on it, just leave it open. It makes it a pain for guys like me that like to do this kind of work, and all it does is retain heat in there. If you want to make it look pretty, make your intake manifold look pretty. Do something different. The covers are stupid and just a pain in my butt. I hate them. I take them off every car I have and they never go back on again. Same thing if I'm working on my family's cars. I tell them the same thing. Do not put the cover back on. It's just a pain. There is literally no reason other than aesthetics, and to me it doesn't look good. I don't know why anybody that does think it looks good, but just that's my rant for today. All right, we're going to go on here. So we're going to start removing stuff here. Like I said, we're going to start with all these things that are attached to the intake manifold. Anything I'm going to leave these runners on, but I probably will have to disconnect the electrical part of that so that they can be pulled up and out of the way. And we'll see where we get. Okay, so I've got the air intake hose taken out. Just a couple of 10 mil bolts to loosen that up and kind of helps to take the air lid off the box first and make it easier. But I'm looking here, and I don't know if you can see right there. There's the one coil in the back there. That's going to be cylinder number 5. So You can see here, I don't have a lot of room underneath the cowling of this Kia to work with, but if I can just get that to tilt it up a little bit, I think I can make that work. I should be able to at least get the coil packs out of there, or the individual coils, and then be able to get to the plugs after that. But I just got to be able to undo it, lift it up a little bit. So like I said, I want to undo as little as possible just to make that happen. And sorry, I forgot to mention, you need to undo your PCV hose that goes from your valve cover back to the air intake pipe there. Just a couple of spring clamps like this, and squeeze those with the fingers if you're strong enough, or with a pair of pliers, slide them out of the way, and give this thing the twist and shout until you get it off of there. And for the upper intake plenum, it looks like there's 2 long bolts, 3 short bolts, and 2 nuts to take those off. They go in here. We got 2 long ones go there. These shorter bolts go down there, and the nuts go on these studs on either side, over there and there. We're going to see how much play we got just by taking those out. I don't think I'm going to get that lucky, but I'll check it out more, see if there's anything else I can figure out. See, this is stuff that drives you nuts. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got my dentist mirror there and shining on a bolt that's in the back there. That's got to come out. Looking at it's probably a 12 mil. See if I can zoom on this a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But you can see that right there. So there's probably more than one, but that's that thing's got to come out. You can't even see it from the top side. So literally got to go by feel on these things and get that thing out of there so we can lift this intake manifold up. Okay, so this is where I'm at. So I took 2 bolts out of 2 brackets in the back, like the one I showed you. The other one was a little bit farther over, but the same idea. Pretty much had to go by feel, but there's a couple of coolant lines down here. So these lines here, I don't want to disconnect those because then I'm involved in losing a bunch of coolant and causing problems. So I'm going to try to lift it up enough from the other side. Looks like I'm going to have to unplug the one electrical plug there. That one right there, because that goes to these runners, because I got the manifold's kind of loose. It's starting to loosen up now. I can shift it a little bit, but I don't want to force it out until I get all these little things figured out, because I don't want to wreck anything. Okay, you can see I've got the intake lifted up there. See into the bottom part of the runners of the upper plenum. I can see the coils back there now. I don't know if that's going to be enough room to get them out and get new spark plugs in. Like I said, I don't want to lift this any more than I have to. I do still have lots of room to go up here as far as that goes, so that's not the issue. It's just all the other attachments. I'm trying to avoid disconnecting any more than I absolutely have to. I'll see if I can get one of those out, and we'll see what happens. So as you can see, I got this thing propped up pretty good. It's threw a roll of masking tape underneath there, trying to make sure I don't drop anything in there in the process. But problem is, I got that one ignition coil started lifting up, but that rear plenum hits that spot right there when I try to lift it up any higher. So she's a little too tight back there. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get around this without, like I said, without undoing any more than I absolutely have to. So when I figure that out, I will come back to you. All right, here's what I think is going to help me. I didn't realize there's a throttle bolt bracket. I don't know if you have bracket on the bottom of the throttle body. So here's the throttle body. On the bottom right side of the throttle body, and there's a bolt that goes to a bracket down to the cylinder head. So if we take that out, maybe we'll give us enough play to get things done here. This little bracket that goes on the back throttle body is not going back in there. The next guy that does spark plugs on this engine can thank me later, because this thing prevents a whole lot of movement and a lot of frustration, because you can't even see it behind the coolant hoses and everything else back there. Well, I finally got first spark plug out of the rear bank here, cylinders. That is a pain, and you can still see how much room I don't have. I literally can't get the socket with the extension on there all at once. I'm going to drop the socket in there, then put the extension on there, and then kind of disassemble it as I take it back out again. And then obviously use a piece of silicone hose to pull the spark plug out. You can see the hole there. That is a pain. They did not design this for service. So I still got 2 more back there to do, but I think I'm going to have to undo some more things on this side over here, so I can kind of twist this way. So I'm gonna leave I want to leave the like I said, the coolant lines going to the throttle body. I'm trying to leave those connected, so if I can just take this and twist it over this way, leave the kind of throttle body where it is, but just turned a little bit, I think I can get those back ones a little bit easier. So hopefully that works. But for now, I'm going to do the good old Canadian thing and get a Tim Hortons coffee break here. And just like that, we got our Tim Hortons double coffee. Cheers from Canada. Happy New Year 2024. And now we're going to have some coffee, and then we're going to see if we can get this stupid Kia spark plugs changed. So just the back ones are the problem. Once I get those ones done, the front ones are going to be nice and easy. But we're going to see if we can twist that intake manifold out of the way and make some progress here, because it's already been an hour and I'm already tired of this. And now we have free access to the rear spark plugs. So what I had to do was undo there's this wire here from the rear fuel injectors, runs up to the evap solenoid that's on the side of the intake manifold. So taking those off, give me the flexibility to be able to give this thing a little bit of a twist. Hopefully the coolant lines are still okay in there. I did disconnect the vacuum line going to that piece in the back there. That's some kind of other vacuum line. It's going to that back hose there. It's got some kind of electrical connector on there. But as you can see, now I've got full access to these rear coils. So a couple things here. Should have mentioned I did spray some liquid wrench or some penetrating fluid down here before, just to let them make it a little bit easier, because these things can be, especially with aluminum heads, they can, and over time, you never know when they've been done before, they could be a little snug. Other thing I should mention is, if you have something, you should try to cover up these intake runners so you don't accidentally drop something in. I don't have anything handy here right now, but I will be taking the shop back and vacuum them out before I put it all back together, make sure everything's good. And it's also, if you have time, or if you have a spare one, it's not a bad idea to change the gasket that's down here. So it's on there, but I wasn't able to get one in time for this video, so it would be okay just to reuse it in this case. It looks okay, it hasn't broken. It's a metal gasket, so it's reusable. It's only air going through it, so it's not that big an issue, honestly, in my opinion. So I found on the front coils, they don't give you enough wire in this wiring harness here to actually pull them all the way up. So you have to disconnect the harness on these ones. So to disconnect the harness, pop that back. It's a lot easier with 2 hands. There we go. You got that pop back, and then we're gonna squeeze it, and it pops it off. So just like that. Then you can take the coil out, no problem. But just figured I'd mention on the back ones, I had enough wiring to get the coils out without disconnecting them. But on the front, they don't give you that much wire. So we got all the spark plugs out, and again, they look, reasonable. They're not they're older, but I'd say based on what I'm seeing here, they are NGKs. I do also have NGKs going back in there. These are iridiums. I'm not putting iridiums back in there just for the price of it, and because it's I'll just end up doing this myself again in a couple of years, and so that's all right. And you can see down the spark plug holes there, and also down the intake manifold. It's nice and black and carboned up. Yeah, might have to do some seafoam treatment on this thing yet, but we'll get the other spark plugs out, and we'll start putting them back in. Okay, so these are the new plugs I've got. They are, like I said, they're NGK, but they're platinums. They're the, see if I can get the number in there. LFR5, I should say, LFR5 AGP. The old ones were ILFR5B11s. So hopefully you can see all that in there. And here's a box. Turn the box around here so you can see the number. LFR5AGP or 5018, depending on which store you go to, depending on which number they use. For those of you that don't know me, I do work in auto parts. I've been selling auto parts for over 20 years now. And I'm going to say something here that might piss off some people. And I'll be quite blunt and honest. I am not using anti-seize on these spark plugs. And that is the first time ever in my life that I'm not going to be putting anti-seize on the spark plugs. And let me explain why. So for over 20 years, I've been selling spark plugs. Back when we had more guys still with the distributors and captain rotors and all that kind of stuff, it was part of my tune-up kit, basically. You know, you need cap rotor, spark plug wires, and some anti-seize and dielectric grease, you're good to go. I saw a video on my YouTube feed the other day about using anti-seize on spark plugs. So just out of curiosity, I took a look at it. If I don't remember who it was, and right now, I'll see if I can find the link and I'll put it up here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. The gentleman on there, he was a mechanic. He said he does not use anti-seize. And first he talked about torque specs and everything like that. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then he talked about grounding, about how the electrode grounds. So it's like, okay, now I'm listening. So I went right onto NGK's website and I looked on there to see what they list, because I use NGK in everything. I use NGK in my GM engines, my Ford engines I've had, my imports, my Toyota. I drive a Toyota Echo on a regular daily basis. This is my wife's Kia. I use NGKs on all of it. And for the most part, they've been great. I've had very few issues. I did have one spark plug that was a bad one on my 3.1 turbo engine but again, you know, those things happen every once in a while. So, but I went right on NGK's website, found what their recommendations are on there, and they do not recommend anti-seize. They say they have a nickel type coating or something on here that will prevent seizing up. So I'm going to take what they say. I'm going to do it their way, and I'm going to hopefully it doesn't bite me in the butt later on, and I'll let you know. But just so you guys know, like I said, I'll post up the information here from NGK's website so you guys can see what I'm talking about as well. But we'll get these things. I am still going to put dielectric grease on the top, so that it again, just to make sure we got a good moisture barrier. That's all the dielectric grease is for, just to keep moisture out of the thing. You don't put it right on the actual. Don't drop your spark plugs. Don't put it right on the actual tip. Just put it on the ceramic part of it, just to keep the moisture out. Another thing I should mention is about the spark plug gap. These should be, as long as you got the right application, these should be gapped for your vehicle already. Always recommend taking a look at them. See if I can get the focus there. Make sure it looks similar to the old ones. Make sure it looks reasonable. If this is pushed down, touching, if it's been banged around in the package, these should come with a cardboard or a plastic sleeve on them that stops them from being damaged during shipping. But always good idea to check it, make sure, because again, I said, as parts guys, we do our best to make sure that you guys are going to get the best product for your application. But at the end of the day, when you're doing the job yourself, it's you that's got to deal with it afterwards. Like I said before in my previous videos, don't take anything for granted and check everything. Another thing I should mention, I don't recall the exact torque spec on these, but these have a crush style washer here for sealing. So they do require a little more torque to seat that properly than a typical tapered seat on a say like a Chevy engine. So make sure you tighten it enough to get a good seal on that one, but don't over tighten it. I will try my best to find the actual proper torque specs and put that up there as well for you guys when I'm done doing this. And before I forget, we're going to take a shop vac. We're going to vacuum out all the spark plug holes on each of the cylinders. Make sure there's no dirt and everything that's fallen in there and any debris that might be around it. And I'm also going to put it in the intake holes as well there, just to suck up anything that might have fallen in during the process there. From what I can find online, it says 21 foot-pounds of torque on the spark plugs on these Hyundai engines. So I'm going to use my old school 3/8 torque wrench, which should easily cover that. It goes up to only 45 foot-pounds, so that'll work for this job. All the new spark plugs are in. They're all properly torqued. I won't bother showing you the back ones, but now it's time to start the best and the worst part of every job, is reassembly. Ignition coils are all back in place, bolted down with the 10mm bolts. Those ones are back in. Now we get the fun part. Looks like I still got some more debris back there. I should vacuum it. Thought I got it all. But we're going to have to start wiggling that intake manifold back in place. And hopefully we haven't damaged any wiring, vacuum lines, coolant lines, or anything in the process. So I've just slowly torqued the two studs on each side. This one here and this one over here. Just holding it into place slowly, making sure nothing is jammed up, everything seats properly, everything makes clearance. I had some concerns on this side because it was getting awfully close, but once I pulled it in place, it kind of tilted it over, and it seems to be okay. So we're gonna just slowly keep reassembling everything. Make sure there's no wiring, vacuum tubes that are pinched or anything like that. That's always the biggest concern with these kind of intake plenums, whether you got to take it off, that you're not breaking a connection, pinching something when you put it back together, and everything's going to work properly when it's done. So I got the plenum all torqued down. Looked like everything went on nice and evenly, so we're going to take a quick look around here, make sure there's no air gaps. I'll take a look underneath down the side there, but everything looks like it went on nicely. I don't have the plenum torque specs handy, but typically anything with air on this kind of things, you're probably only put 20 foot-pounds of torque. Nothing crazy, because again, there's only air going through this. The fuel injectors are below that, so where it's injecting the fuel into the cylinder head right there. So now it's just a matter of connecting all the vacuum lines, electrical connectors, and make sure we got everything done, and make sure we got all the nuts and bolts put back when we're done. See, this is the kind of stuff you got to worry about. See, this is just a rubber weather sleeve kind of thing from you see that there? From this connector back here, that goes into our intake runner port back there. If I can show you that, right in there. So again, on its own, not going to be a problem. Everything will work fine, but down the road, that can let moisture in and cause the engine lights and stuff, all sorts of problems down the road. So thankfully I was able to find the seal on the floor, and I can put it back together. So there's 3 support brackets in the back there. One for this power steering hose that goes in the back of the plenum right over on the other side. I hooked that one back up just to keep this thing stable. But the other one is a main bracket right in the middle, right about this area here. I did not hook that one back up again. And then there's also one on the throttle body, which I mentioned before. That one did not go back in. It's sitting over here on the battery right now. But the one going from the throttle body to the cylinder head in the back, I'm not putting that one back in. It's a pain in the butt. And it's unnecessary. This is an aluminum intake manifold. If this was plastic, I could maybe see it, but this is an aluminum intake manifold. It does not need all that bracketry in the back of it to support it, in my opinion. If it breaks, I'll eat my words, but hopefully by next time, I'll thank myself next time I do these spark plugs anyway. So I got everything else installed here except for the air box, I believe. I got the vacuum lines are all hooked up except for the one going to this PCV piping or whatever you want to call this. I forget what they call that, vent tube of some sort going to the air filter. I got that one is still to hook up, and all the other lines and electrical stuff is hooked up. I think we are good to go almost. Once we put that air box back in with the air hose, I think she's done. So she's all put back together. I'm gonna go give it a test fire. I should take one more look, make sure we don't see anything that might have been missed. So plugs are all hooked up again, our coils all hooked up. I don't see any vacuum lines that have been disconnected. Everything has been reconnected the way it should be. Don't see anything that should cause the same problems. Oh, you know what? Right there, I missed the bolt. Not going to cause a major problem, but I will put that back in there just to make sure it's all done properly. But we'll go fire it up first. Checking things as I go here. Fire's right up. No engine lights yet. Revs up nice. Not bad for 190 horsepower, 2.7 liter Hyundai V6. So, well, hope that helps you out, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you do like it, let me know. Comment, like it, subscribe it. This is probably the first time I've ever asked for anybody to subscribe, but I've got more viewers than I ever expected and more subscriptions than I ever expected when I started this channel. So I really do appreciate it, and I will show the tools that I used at the end of the video here. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Let's go take it for a little bit of a test drive here just to make sure everything's good. Not bad for a Kia.